Keeper of the Lost Cities, Neverseen, Chapter 42. If you're not already following along, that would really help me out, and make sure to give this video a like. Thanks! Leave it to you to try and burn down Exilium on the first day, Keith said as Sophie's eyes fluttered open, revealing that she'd been moved to a dimly lit tent. Her narrow mattress rested on the floor, and her ankle felt tender, but the rest of her seemed okay, until she realized her boots were missing, and her pants. She scrambled for a blanket and discovered she'd been dressed in a faded gray robe. She decided not to ask when and where the change had happened. She rolled to her side, and the bed made an embarrassing squeaky sound. "That was the mattress," she said. Keith giggled. "Everybody farts, Foster. It's cool. I still think you're cute." Sophie became very interested in studying the tent. The canvas had been decorated with bold swirls of color. It might have once been pretty, but there were too many patches and tears. The whole thing looked like it could use a thorough wash. "How's your ankle?" she asked Keith, as he stretched and winced. He wore a robe just like hers, and had a black bandage wrapped around his foot. Keith hiccuped. "The boobery dude said it's not broken, and he gave me this to help with the pain." He held up an empty vial and hiccuped again. "Boobery dude?" Sophie asked. "He wouldn't tell me his name, and he had this crazy bird mask." He giggled again. "Where did he go?" Sophie asked. "Hopefully to get me more of this." Keith tried to take another drink from the empty vial, then settled for licking the rim. Must have been a powerful elixir. "What's in it?" she asked. "No idea. All I know is it tasted like kissing a muskog." "And you have a lot of experience with that?" "Hey, I never say no to a dare." "Wait, you seriously kissed a muskog?" Sophie asked, remembering the burpy frog-like thing Stina had put in Dex's locker once. Keith hiccuped again. "I've kissed a lot of things. Just ask Biana." "You kissed Biana?" "A couple of years ago, yeah," he mumbled. "Mostly on the cheek." "What do you mean by mostly?" "You want a demonstration?" I think I'll pass." She was pretty sure her face was redder than Mr. Snuggles. "It wasn't a big deal," he told her. "It was just a dare." "Okay," she said, not sure why she was clenching her fists this hard. Keith narrowed his eyes. "You're a hard one to read, Miss F. You know that? Sometimes I think you... Oh, the boobery dude gave you some of this awesome sauce." He pointed to the vial on the floor next to her mattress, filled with one of the swirly purple syrups. "You should take it, or if you don't want it, you should give it to me." Sophie snatched the vial out of his reach. "I think you've had enough." "Boo! You're worse than my mom." "Actually, no, you're not. No one is. Was. What's the right verb? It needs to be past tense, right?" The thought seemed to sober him up, and he rolled to his side, curling his legs into his chest. He tapped his empty vial with his fingernails. Tap, tap, tap. Sophie studied his expression, wondering if this was the real Keith, without the jokes to hide behind. He looked angry and really scared. Right now, it's the "we don't know" tense, Keith, she said gently. "Yeah." Tap, 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 tap. "I made her a necklace one time. Did I tell you that? I made it out of beads to match her favorite bracelet. I painted every flower on it. And do you know how many times she wore it?" Sophie was pretty sure she could guess. He held up both of his fists with no fingers raised. "That many times. I really thought she would. She even defended it. My dad said I'd wasted an afternoon when I could have been preparing for my Foxfire entrance exams. And she told him she thought it was pretty. I'd painted the flowers from memory after studying for the agriculture exam. Not that my dad cared. So I thought she'd wear it, but nope. She always wore the ugly ruby necklace he bought her." He tapped the bottle so hard it slipped out of his hand and bounced off to the edge of the tent. Sophie got up to grab it, sucked in a breath, as she put weight on her burned leg. "That's what you get for climbing out of bed before I tell you to," a sharp voice scolded. "Hey, it's Boobry Dude," Keith said, as a green-cloaked figure stepped into the tent. "Got any more of this good stuff?" The Boobry Dude frowned, which looked especially strange now that Sophie understood what Keith meant about his mask. The black metal had been decorated with yellow feathers that stuck through the fabric of his hood. "I don't think you should give him any more," Sophie told him. "No, I don't think so either," the Boobry Dude agreed. "Don't worry, his head will clear soon. What about you?" he asked Sophie. "You're not having the same side effect?" Sophie held up her still full vial. "Didn't seem like a good idea. Plus, I had to make sure there's no libium in it." "Ah, so you're the one with the allergy. I wasn't sure if it was you or the other girl. I was careful just in case. Now let's see about that burn." Sophie stretched out her leg, cringing when she saw the blisters coating the top of her foot and running all the way down to the middle of her calf. He pulled out a nearly empty tube and squeezed the last of its contents onto the burn. The cream was gray and chalky and felt scratchy on her blisters. "We're out of numbing ointment," he explained. "We're out of mostly everything, but this should be enough. I make what I can with the herbs I stumble across, but what I wouldn't give for one measly supply shipment." "The council doesn't send any?" He snorted. "All they ever send is more waywards, though never 5 in a single day before. How'd you manage that?" Sophie shrugged. "The council doesn't like us." "Well, it's good you're used to that, since the coaches don't like you either. You ruined the art of dividing." "They were the ones who left us dangling like piñatas?" "Piñatas?" he asked. "They're a human thing." "Well, I'm assuming comments like that are what got you here. Probably those eyes, too." "Hey, I like Foster's eyes," Keith told him. "Brown is so much warmer than blue." "You two should be careful," the Boobry Dude said, as Sophie blushed. "Names are not welcome here." "Does that mean I can keep calling you Boobry Dude?" Keith asked. "If you must. But I'm serious about my warning. Keep to yourselves, focus on the skills, and wipe off that leg." It took Sophie a second to realize he wanted her to use the towel he was offering, which didn't necessarily look clean, but there weren't any other towels, so Sophie wiped the gray gunk off her skin, relieved to see no trace of the blisters. The Boobry Dude nodded. "You're lucky she put the fire out so quickly." "She?" Sophie asked. "Our pyrokinetic. She called the waves that caught you, which should have gotten her ejected, by the way, but she also put out the rest of the fire, so the coaches let it slide." "Why would helping me get her ejected?" Sophie asked, hoping it meant expelled and not actually being launched out of the campus. "Because here it's about everyone for themselves, and since you seem like the type, you should know it would be a terrible idea to thank her. Communication will get you both in trouble, and then we'll have to deal with the shade." The way he said that word gave Sophie chills. Who's the shade? The worst wayward here, and he's incredibly protective of the hydrokinetic. If you want to survive here, you keep your distance from both of them. He turned his attention to Keith, unwrapping the bandage and rubbing a green gel on Keith's ankle. "How long have you worked here?" Sophie asked, hoping he'd say a long time. If she could learn something about the cyanopath, it would make the whole physician visit on the first day thing a little less embarrassing. "Honestly, I've lost count," he said. "I think it's been 10 years, but it all blurs together." 10 years was a good answer. "Did you ever treat a cyanopath or remember meeting one over the years?" "I've met several," he said, turning back to face her. "Why?" She shrugged, hoping she looked casual. "I ran into one a few weeks ago, and he used to go to Exilium." He shook his head. "If this is a crush thing, you can do better." "It's not a crush thing," Sophie said, ignoring Keith's snicker. She realized it was going to take a little more truth to coax out the right answer, so she added, "I think he might be part of some sort of rebellion. The boober dude flinched, and she knew she was onto something, especially when he said, "Stay away from him." So you know who I'm talking about? I'm pretty sure I do, though I couldn't tell you his name. And he's even worse than the Shade. Anger at the council is pretty standard around here, but I remember thinking, this guy could spark a revolution. And given the strangeness I've seen in the territories... What strangeness? Sophie asked, her heart officially in thunder mode. These are dangerous questions, he said, the kind that could get you ejected or worse. It's wrong to want to know what's happening in our world? Sophie asked. You don't have a world anymore. You're banished. She's just trying to settle a bet, Keith jumped in, before Sophie could argue any further. I bet her that the guy was lying about being from Exilium to sound tough. So she's trying to prove me wrong. And my leg feels all better now. Thanks. The booby dude didn't look convinced by Keith's excuse. But all he said was, both of you need to get dressed. He pointed to the new pants and boots on the fronts of their beds and lowered the curtain between their beds to give them privacy. The coaches are ready to mark you. Mark us? Sophie asked, trying not to picture a dog marking its territory. Yes, it's time for you to learn your place in Exilium.